think we have sound now. Now we've got sound. Right. This is the worst live video ever. Now the sound will be coming through in a second, guys. Appreciate you putting it in the comments though, in the chat. Okay, right. I'm going to start this again. What are we on? We're now on 9:18. I apologize, guys, for everybody sitting there waiting. I appreciate you waiting patiently. Blimey. I would have probably got bored and moved on by now, so I appreciate you hanging around. Tonight, there's still no sound. Is your volume working? There should be sound. Is there sound? Is there sound? Can people hear me? There should be sound now. Anybody hearing sound? Can anybody see sound in the chat? Is your volume working? Anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? If somebody could put in the live chat that you can hear me, that would be fantastic. Good afternoon, Mark. Amazing. There is amazing. Right. Awesome. Good afternoon to you, Lee Catsby. We've got Railway History UK watching. Blimey. Okay, cool. Alrighty, what are we on now? We're on 9:19 my time, so 7:19 in the UK. And if you're in the US, I have no idea what time it is, but good evening. Thank you for being patient. Blimey, I've had technical issues tonight, and I say technical issues, it's my issue. I'm supposed to click live here, and I'm supposed to click live over here twice, and I'm supposed to unmute my mic. All of these things would be great if I was editing these videos, but I'm not. So now you get to just see me make a fool of myself, which is fine. That's cool. I'm totally cool with that. So look, tonight I'm going to tell you about how we moved to Cyprus, all the events leading up to it, why we chose Cyprus in the first place, and what I recommend you do before moving out here, or before you go anywhere else, in fact. Now, you're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, and I appreciate you hanging around for those of you that have, because I'm going to tell you some real stories about real Cyprus. Actually, I'm not, because tonight I'm going to talk to you all about me. You're going to learn a bit about me and the criteria and the events leading up to why we moved to Cyprus in the first place. So, why did we choose Cyprus? What was the criteria? A lot of people in the UK, like myself, like you probably watching this, have a dream about moving somewhere warm, want to live somewhere in the sun, because we're so sun-starved in the UK that, let's be honest, whenever you go away on holiday, it's all we talk about. British people love talking about the weather and how crap it is. So we wanted to live somewhere warm. We wanted to live somewhere with a higher quality of life, outdoor living. The perception was that we could spend more time outside. We could be somewhere safe as well. We've got a young child, and so we wanted to be somewhere that was safe. In fact, where I used to live in a place called Burbage in Leicestershire in the UK. And it was kind of touching a place called Hinckley, and it was only divided by a railway line. And the reality was that Burbage was supposed to be the nicer place of the two. And, while it was like an okay area, it was all right. We enjoyed it. To say safety was a big thing for us moving out here, when you're reading news articles about people in Burbage being mugged for their Chinese, you're like, really? That just didn't do it for us. We wanted to be somewhere safe where I wasn't worried about my son playing out in the streets and stuff like that. If he wanted to go out and see his friends. So safety was a big thing for us. And also somewhere tax efficient. We wanted to be somewhere where the businesses could run tax efficiently. And, for those of you running business in the UK right now, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now, coming from the UK, we wanted to live in Europe, okay? Because we've got UK clients, we've got businesses in the UK, or we've got two businesses in the UK, and time zones needed to be factored in. So we couldn't live in the US, although we like the US, like Canada, we like that side of the world. It was a bit too far from a time zone perspective. Also, Asia. There's some places in Asia that I quite like, but again, too far. You've got +8 hours, -8 hours. So we decided Europe was the place. Now, some of the things that we factored in. The UK, we thought, do we even want to move? Could we stay in the Cotswolds? We wanted to move somewhere nice. So could we move to the Cotswolds? It was a consideration. Could we move to the Peak District? Again, that was a consideration. But the problem is, it doesn't matter how nice your garden is, or how nice your house is in these areas, or how nice your garden is. When you're contending with British weather, you can barely use it. If you want to go out in the rain and stuff, fine, but you can have a nice house. You can have a nice garden. You can buy all the nice things. Materialistically, you can buy all the nice things, but you cannot buy the weather. And for us, weather is a huge piece of our quality of life. We want to be somewhere warm, and we want somewhere sunny and dry where we can go outside and do stuff. So where else did we consider? We looked at Poland. We looked at Malta. And we also looked at Cyprus. Now, Poland, we looked at that because we've got family in Poland, right? So that was a consideration for us. However, we said no to Poland, just like no to the UK, because you know what? We kind of still, although Poland's very seasonal, we wanted to live in the heat and visit the cold. So, Poland is very cold in the winter, but it's very warm in the summer as well. It's quite nice. Also, the tax is not hugely efficient there, but it did tick a lot of other boxes. However, there was one big problem with Poland. I don't speak Polish. I've tried many times for many years, but I'm not very good at it. So that was going to be a tough one if we decided to move to Poland. So we looked at Malta. Now, Malta's great, ticks loads of boxes. But for those of you that are watching this from Cyprus, people, when you've been here a little while, you start to feel like Cyprus is a small place. Well, if you think Cyprus is small, Malta's even smaller. And the problem with that is that Malta's smaller by landmass, but actually the population then becomes very dense. So it becomes a very crowded place. Whereas Cyprus, you can get away from people. And one of the things I've learned about myself is that I love people, right? I love talking to people. I love working with people. I love networking and meeting new people. And at the same time, I hate people, right? Sometimes you just want to go away and you don't want to be around people. You just want to be in nature. And you can do that here, right? So Cyprus was just a much better bet than Malta. And the thing is, we'd actually visited Cyprus in 2011. And like a lot of people that have been out to a country on holiday, you have a happy memory of it. For the most part, generally, holiday memories are generally quite happy, right? Because let's be honest, you're taking loads of photos on holiday and you only ever take photos when people are smiling. So photos only ever tell a happy story because, if you have an argument with your partner, you never take that picture and put that in the album. So holiday memories are generally quite happy. And so we liked it in 2011. And we decided, you know what? We want to move. Could Cyprus be the place? We thought, we'll try it. So rather than just moving, and I know a lot of people talk about this, and I see this on Facebook a lot for those of you in the groups, people talking about, oh, I want to move to Cyprus. Oh, yeah, we visited, it's lovely. We want to move out there. Great, do it. But there's a process that we took that I recommend, and I'll recommend this at the end, is that you follow something similar. So in 2022, we decided that we were going to try Cyprus. And by try it, I don't just mean go away on holiday. I mean, we were going to try it for an extended period of time and we were going to live like the locals would live. So we booked an Airbnb for 6 weeks through the summer. And we decided that we were going to come out and we'd spend the summer here, just under 6 weeks actually, and we were going to live like locals. We were going to literally eat where the locals eat, shop where the locals shop. Joined a gym out here so I could go and train with the locals. We wanted to do the local thing. We didn't want to be tourists for 6 weeks because again, it doesn't give you the right exposure to a country. We wanted to do it in a way that gave us a real feel for Cyprus. So in 2022, we came out and 2 weeks into the trip, and I remember this, 2 weeks in, we were asking ourselves, what do we miss from the UK? And the answer was staggering because we didn't miss a single thing. Now, you might say, well, that's not strange at all. Well, let me ask you, the last time you went on holiday, think about the last time you went away somewhere. If you went away for a couple of weeks, you'll know what I mean when I talk about this. So normally, whenever I've been somewhere for 2 weeks on holiday, by day 10, day 11, you're missing things from home, whether it's your own bed, whether it's your own settee, whether it's, I don't know, your own fridge or something stupid, right? But your creature comforts that you have at home, there'll be certain things that you miss. And when we got 2 weeks in, we were missing nothing. Not even friends, not even family. That sounds horrible, but I'm just being honest with this. We were missing nothing. And we certainly weren't missing the UK. 4 weeks went by and got to the end of the 4 weeks. And we were starting to miss some things from the UK. Do you know what we're missing? High-speed internet and a dishwasher. That was it. That's all we missed from the UK. Like literally, the internet we had in the Airbnb was crap, and we were trying to work remotely, and it wasn't very good. And I ended up having to try and get it on my mobile and to tether, and so we missed the internet. And the dishwasher, the place we were renting, didn't have one, and that was it. That's all we missed from the UK. Now, at this point, we've still got 2 weeks left of the trip, and something that I haven't mentioned yet. Well, I did when I recorded this 20 minutes ago. but you guys didn't hear that because my mic wasn't on, video wasn't on, it wasn't live, and I was talking to myself. But something that I haven't mentioned yet for you guys this time is that in the run up to us going away, so literally a few weeks before we came away to Cyprus in 2022, we had some really bad news and we had a friend pass away in Poland. Now, this hit really hard, harder than I expected. I mean, not like I was expecting it to happen, but it hit really hard. And for me personally, over the years, over about a 10 or 11-year period, I've got used to losing people. Like we've had a lot of bereavement in the family. We've lost, my parents have gone, my grandparents have gone, my aunts and uncles that I was close to, they all passed away in like in a 10 or 11-year period. We lost everybody. But the one thing they all had in common was that they were all older than me, right? When our friend passed away in Poland, he was younger than me. And that hit really hard because like normally I'm looking at it going, you know what? You kind of start to rationalize these things. Yeah, people get old and, it's just the way of life, right? But he was younger than me. And I'm like, shit. I'm literally on, I've now had more life than him. I've now had more experience, more exposure. And the reality is, and you think about it, the reality is you could be dead tomorrow. I could die right now. I could have a heart attack filming this. You don't know when you're going to go. So 4 weeks in, we're missing nothing except the internet and a dishwasher. We had 2 weeks left of the trip. We're sitting there going, you know what? The plan was originally, and it's annoying because I've already said this once and I've missed it in this take, but the plan was originally to go in 2022. If we liked it, we were then going to go again in 2023, do another extended trip over the summer. And if we liked that and we still like Cyprus, in the winter of 2023, we were then going to do a winter trip because everybody that we'd reached out to on Facebook at the time, and you can see my posts, they're still on there, where I'm asking people for advice before we came out. A lot of people were saying, you need to come and visit in the winter because Cyprus is really cold in the winter. So we were going to come in the winter of 2023, try it then. And if we liked it then, in the summer of 2024, to mix in with the school changeover for my son, we were going to move. And that was the plan. It was going to be a 2-year period of trialing Cyprus, making sure it was right for us, making sure it was right for our son. And then we were going to move. But here we are, 4 weeks in to this first trip. And we're thinking about everything that's going on. We're thinking about what we're not missing from the UK, thinking about, friend who's passed away. And tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So we were like, why are we waiting 2 years? Why are we going to wait another 2 years when it feels this good? Why would we wait? So 4 weeks in, we made the decision that we were going to move. And from that point, and I remember this explicitly, from that point, we're still in Cyprus, right? Most people who, if you're away, you try and enjoy it. You'd be like, oh, I'm away. I can relax, can lay in the sun, can go to the beach. Couldn't relax. So once we made the decision, I just became laser focused on wanting to make it permanent. I didn't want to relax for 2 weeks because that was a waste for me. It was 2 weeks wasted when it could have been 2 weeks preparing to actually make the move. But anyway, we were there for another 2 weeks. So we kind of had to force ourselves through it, even though we'd made the decision to stay, which sounds ridiculous, I know, but that's where we were at. We ended up pulling it forward by an entire year. So by 2023, August 11th, 2023, we had actually moved. And everything that we'd done in the run up to that happened inside of, 11 months, 11, 12 months, right? And the thing is, why am I telling you all of this? Because I keep seeing lots of people, the more I'm doing these types of videos on Cyprus Unfiltered, the more people I'm interacting with, I'm seeing lots more people posting about how they want to move abroad. They want to move to Cyprus. They can't, they're seeing, in my perception, this is my belief, they're trading on those holiday thoughts, those holiday feelings. And my advice is, if you're looking to move away, if you're looking to move somewhere different, try it. Don't go on holiday there as such. Go and try it. Live like a local. maybe you don't span it out over 2 years, but try it for an extended period of time. Don't just trade on your holiday vibes, because like I said in my video last week, when I was talking about mental health and mindset, you can go camping for 2 weeks and you can love that, but it doesn't mean you want to live in a tent for the rest of your life. So if you come out to Cyprus or somewhere hot because you want to go somewhere hot and you think, oh yeah, but it was great, I'm on holiday and all the rest of it, it's totally different when you're living out here, right? Because as an example, you come out here as a tourist. And when we came out here as a tourist, you're walking around, you're in your shorts, you go down to the beach, you're in your flip-flops, whatever, you might go shopping on the way home to get some meat for the barbecue, that kind of thing. When you live here and you're walking around the shops and some guy walks in, he's just wearing a pair of shorts and he's leaning over and he's getting a bunch of bananas, his belly's hanging out, or you see women in bikinis just walking around doing their thing. Could you imagine being in Tesco or Sainsbury's or Morrison's or wherever you shop in the UK, Walmart in the US, and you're walking around doing your shop and you're just being you're going about your normal day of life. You've got to get back because the kids are going to school, maybe you've got to get back and jump on a call. And then you see the tourists walking around doing the touristy thing. And this is going to sound really, I don't know what the word is, but you try and distance yourself from them. You're like, no, I'm not a tourist. And it's the most bizarre thing. But that's the point. Is like when you're on holiday, you'll have a different experience of a place than when you live there. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. You will experience it differently, So if you're going to move, if you're thinking about moving, try it, but try it as a local. Don't try it as a tourist, because it's a different perception. I promise you, it's a different perception to what you'd have on holiday. Because if you're thinking you're going to have those holiday feelings forever, you won't. They're going to disappear. They're going to go. So you've got to come and try it. Now, look, there's a lot of questions that I'm seeing online. And so as a result of that, I'm looking to do a mini series in the new year, because when we made the decision to move, there's a lot of things that we had to do in that 11, 12-month period. We were looking at housing. Do we buy? Do we rent? We were looking at schools, immigration. How do we move all of our stuff from the UK? How do we bring the car? Should we even bring the car? What about residency, pink slips, yellow slips, all of that stuff, right? So I'm going to do a mini series in the new year where I just talk about all of this. And I'm literally going to take you through step by step. So literally, what happened once we made the decision? What happened when we got back home? What did we do first? The order, the sequence that we did it all in. I'm going to talk to you about it all. So you get to see exactly what we did. And it'll be totally behind the scenes. I'm going to remember as much as I can. I tried to document it at the time, so I'm going to remember as much as I can. But I'm going to pull that into the new year, and there'll be, like I say, a mini series on that. I'm seeing the questions. There's lots of people watching tonight. I'm actually quite pleased. So I'm just going to see if there's any questions as such. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to reach out and ask, because that's why I do these live, because I want you to be able to ask questions, and it's awesome that you are. So what we've got? Sounds on. That's good. Yeah, it started. Thank you. Yeah. Don't forget to mention, subscribe, and follow. Cheers, Lee. If you're watching this right now, can you please give me a like? Can you subscribe? Can you follow? In fact, actually, on the stats, I noticed that there's about 30% of people that are watching these are actually subscribed. And I think it helps me if you subscribe. I don't know how YouTube works, I'll be honest. If you subscribe and you give it a thumbs up, I think that helps me somehow. Try it. I'll let you know. What we got? We've got Poland has good weather. Yeah, it does. Poland does have good weather. In fact, actually, this is a common misconception, right? So a lot of people, when you talk to them in Poland, certainly looks, my wife's Polish. So the thing she always gets, and she would tell you this herself, she absolutely hates it when people comment on her if she's ever cold, because they'll always go, how can you be cold? You're from Poland. Like Poland's this freaking ice cube. And no, Poland is a seasonal country. So they'll have warmer summers than the UK. They'll have colder winters than the UK because they get proper snow, and it's freaking awesome. They get the seasons, not this grey, drizzly, rainy rubbish through the year. So yeah, Poland does have nice weather. And like I say, if you like the snow, then it's nice in the winter too. What else we got? Yeah, Poland is super seasonal. That's right. Chesh from Scotland. Awesome. No, hi from Scotland. Who else we got? We've got Chesh, by the way. What is car servicing like in Cyprus? Okay, interesting question. So it's expensive. It's more expensive than the UK, that's for sure. I'll be honest, there's a few things with cars, and I'm actually going to do a video on this in a couple of weeks' time, because, and I'm going to, a bit of a spoiler right now, you ruined my video in 2 weeks' time, but it's fine. I'll tell you about it anyway. So Servicing is an annual thing, but that's more maintenance of the car. So you're keeping your car serviced. If you're like us, we try and look after the cars more than perhaps non-petrol heads. So we'll change the oil more regularly. Even though you don't have to change it for like a year or for the certain mileage, we'll change it every few months just to make sure the oil's fresh. Because out here there's a lot of dust, a lot of sand. But typically, we've found a garage that we like in Paphos. So if anybody wants a garage in Paphos, again, I get nothing from recommending them. But if you want to know where we take our cars, I can tell you where we take our cars. So far, been really good service. I do hear some stories of the foreign attacks, and by foreign attacks I mean I've got white skin, I don't speak Greek, so they just assume that you've got more money than them and they'll charge you more. The price can go up for an English price than it does for a Greek price. But I guess that's normal everywhere, right? Foreigners get fleeced, it's just part of it. But I've never felt fleeced by the garages that I used, and that's because I went to garages that were recommended to me by people that have been here longer than me. So um, the thing with cars, if you're getting an MOT done, MOTs are only done every 2 years instead of every year, which is good or bad depending on how you look at it. It's good because you don't have to pay for an MOT every year. It's bad because it means that the cars out here are in absolutely shocking condition at times, and there's a safety aspect to it. But yeah, MOTs are every 2 years. Road tax is the thing that surprised me the most because it runs on a calendar year. Why they do this, I do not know. But it basically runs from kind of like January the 1st through to December 31st. I can't help but think that just causes chaos for some poor people in the office that have got to sort out road tax for everybody. But anyway, that's how it works. So everybody's road tax is expiring on New Year's Eve. Now, I can't remember what I did last year with the road tax. I feel like it expired and then we did it in the new year and it was like a grace period. I'm going to do it again this year, and I'm going to remember it this year. I'm going to do a video on it. So I'll talk about that. I think that answers the question of the cars for now. If not, then feel free to ask more questions. What else we got? Are you on an EU passport or one of us unlucky UK passports? It's a very good question. I'm on a UK passport. I was unlucky, but I was also very lucky. So when my wife and I got married, when she first came to the UK, so she came to the UK in 2010, being married to a British guy, me, gave her absolutely zero benefit whatsoever. It didn't help her get a passport. It didn't help her get residency, like nothing. There was no benefit. And this was pre-Brexit. It just didn't help her get any passport or anything. She could come over and live and work and stuff like that, but she couldn't get a passport any sooner. She couldn't get, citizenship any sooner because she was married to me. Now, when I came out here, we were going through the pink slip process because I just assumed that that's what I needed to do because, I was a third country national post Brexit. And so the income requirements are higher and you have to prove it every year and all of this stuff. And so we've got all the paperwork, all the bank statements, everything we needed to come through and do the pink slip process. Now, when we were going through the process, the guy that was helping me do it, amazing guy, he was looking at our situation and he says, you could just come through on your wife's yellow slip. I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, you don't need to apply for the pink slip. He said, we can kind of get rid of all of that documentation and you can just apply through your wife. Like, really? So I was very, very lucky in that I'm, for all intent and purposes, classed as an EU citizen because I'm married to one. And that's the only reason. So because I'm married to my wife, who is a Polish citizen, she's also a British citizen, they're a British citizen, can't even speak. It means that I get all of the benefits as though I was an EU citizen. So I get access to GESI, which is the national health. I get access to the residency here for 5 years instead of having to reapply every year. And I was just lucky. That was luck more than judgment. That was something that I didn't think I could do. I was looking at it purely from a, how do I get in? Not, is there any benefit in me being married to a Polish person? So yeah, like I say, it was more luck and judgment. I assumed I was going to have to come through on a pink slip, and I was lucky. I hope that answers your question. Railway History UK. What else we got? And you said to us that you miss Greg's sausage rolls. I did miss. I do miss Greg's sausage rolls. Absolutely, I miss Greg's sausage rolls. But I didn't miss it in 2022. That's the crucial thing, right? I'm not lying. I wasn't missing it in 2022 because I had souvlaki, we had the sunshine, we had all the kebabs and the chicken and the meat, and you don't worry about the sausage rolls at that point. But yeah, after a while, you start to miss things. Like I miss mince pies. It's Christmas time. I haven't seen any mince pies. Maybe they sell them. I just haven't seen them. But normally, you go into last time I was in the UK. I mean, flipping out, I was in the UK, and when was it? November, and I was there in was there in November, and I was there also in September. And of course, the UK is very seasonal when it comes to commercial stuff. So the moment Halloween's gone, it's like bang, everything's Christmas. The moment Christmas is gone, bang, everything's Easter. So I've seen mince pies for the last few months. Every time I go into a shop, it's like in your face. So yeah, I miss mince pies as well. But anyway, what else we've got? We are thinking of moving next year from France, where I've lived for 20 years and I've had enough of the weather here. Okay. And the inability to get things done, car servicing, building, repairs, everything. Well, how to put this? In Cyprus, there is a saying called siga siga. Siga siga basically translates to slowly, slowly. Things don't happen out here fast. Now you can get your car serviced. If car servicing is one of your problems, that's no problem. You can get your car serviced, and like I say, the garage that I use, really good. He gets you in. It's quick enough. The downside, and this could be a problem, is depending on the car that you have, will depend on the availability of spare parts. So I mentioned this in my driving video that I put my sensible trousers on when I was bringing a car from the UK, because I wanted to have a car that was actually, one, allowed me to be pretty invisible on the island. I didn't want something that was like super flashy. I wanted to kind of blend in. So I bought a car that was pretty common on the island. I mean, yes, it's a convertible, and yes, it looks nice and everything else, but it looks like every other convertible on the island. It doesn't look anything special. It's just a nice car. But part of the rationale for buying it was because, and it's a Mercedes-Benz cars on the island are very common, which means there's going to be a lot of spare parts on the island, which so far has proved to be the case. You can get spare parts on the island. However, let's say you bring a British car over. Let's say you bring a Land Rover or a Jaguar. Those parts are going to be harder to get on the island. If you own a Tesla on the island, you can't even get it serviced here. And we know some friends that have a Tesla, or they used to have a Tesla. And because there's no official service center on the island for Tesla, they had to take it to Limassol. It went on a boat, and it went over to Greece, and it was serviced in Greece, and then it came back. So it depends what car you've got as to whether or not it's going to be quick. Depends on the spare parts, as well. We have another car, and that car breaks more than the Mercedes does, because it's a Land Rover and it breaks. That's what they do. And so rather than being fleeced by all of the prices on the island, we just order all of our stuff from Europe. But inevitably, if it breaks, what happens is you then have to get the part from Europe and you ship that to the garage in Paphos, and then they will fit it and it's fine. And they're dead cool with it. I thought they'd be pretty mardy, but they're aware of the fact that the prices are higher. Land Rover charge a fortune out here. So they're aware of the fact that the prices are higher. And so they have no issue holding onto your car for a few days or a week or whatever while I'm shipping a part from the UK, rather than buying their part, because they could put a markup on their part, but they're like, no, cool, if you can get it cheaper, that's cool, just order it in, and then I'll send my part list to them, and I'll go, this is what I'm looking to order, and the garage will check it for me. They go, yep, send that over to me, we'll fit it. Cool, done. But it's not fast. So if you're experiencing slowness in France, it might not be that much quicker here, depending on what you are looking at, because it's an island, right? In terms of building repairs and getting things done, so it depends. Like, we have gardeners that turn up here, and I'm not joking. It's like a small army of people. We have garden maintenance guys that come around. They do all the garden, but there's like a small army of them turn up, and they come and they're on time, and they just come regularly twice a month, and it's great. We've seen repair people that come out and do stuff. We're currently in the middle of building and developing houses. In fact, my business partner right here, he does develop houses, and things, depending on what you're doing, there's different stages that'll be fast and different stages that are slow. But fundamentally, you've got all the trades out here. Is it going to be faster than France, though? I don't know. I've never experienced it in France. I can tell you from the UK, what I do like about out here is that people just get stuff done. Now, the quality of work remains to be seen. The two houses that we've rented so far, so we rent this house, we rented the last house. I don't know quite what the kitchen fitters do. I don't know what the bathroom people do, the plumbers, but the quality is not like it is in the UK, that's for sure. 100% not like it is in the UK. That being said, when we've needed stuff done, people come. And like I say, it's almost like nothing's too much trouble for them. People come, people fix stuff, people do stuff. So I don't know if that's answering your question, but for us, is it the worst thing in the world? If something's broken for a bit and it's a bit slow, in the grand scheme of things, can you live with it? I don't know. That's a choice you're going to have to make. But for us, it's not a problem. We would you just put up with things, and it's not necessarily bad. It's not necessarily worse. It's just people do things slower out here. But what I find is that the services are better. The trades that I have dealt with seem to be better. But where I think it falls down and where Sega Sega comes in is if you're trying to do anything official, if you're trying to do anything through like government offices, like banks. Oh my God. I'm going to do a video on banks. Oh, could do, don't ask me about banks tonight because I'll go on all bloody night. Banks are a nightmare, but everything's slow. Like when you do things officially like that, things are slow. So, that's just part of the Cypriot way of life. But, it's nice because when you spend your entire life running around going fast, actually, if you're on Zoom calls and stuff like that and you're working all day, it's sometimes nice to be able to just come off and slow down a little bit, just go with the flow. So I don't know if that answers your question anyway, but hopefully that does. We have a white tax in France. It's 100%. Okay, right. There you go. So you know what I'm talking about then. The foreigner tax, yeah? Why did you choose Paphos over Larnaca? Okay, good question, because that was something that we did look at. We did look at Larnaca. When we were here in 2022, we were driving around the island as well, trying to figure out where we wanted to live. We came to Paphos. We based ourselves in Paphos because that's where we went on holiday in 2011. And so we decided we'd base ourselves in Paphos, but we'd spend some time in Limassol, we'd spend some time in Larnaca, and we would go and see where we liked. Now, we chose we chose Paphos because of the holiday, but we were driving around. We looked at Limassol. If you've ever been to Limassol, the seafront is lovely. And when you see the pictures of the big high-rise, buildings, a lot of the locals hate it because it's kind of becoming more built up. And you know what? Yeah, it's more like a modern city. And when you look down the seafront, if you like modern, if you're into the whole modern type of architecture, it's nice. It's subjective. If you're local, a lot of the locals hate it. But for me as a foreigner, I quite like it. But the thing with Limassol is that although there's a lot of money there, that's where all the business happens, and that's where a lot of kind of deals seem to take place. You come 2 or 3 streets in from the seafront, and it just always feels like a hole. Like it's really hard to explain it. It just feels dirty. It feels kind of less safe than Paphos. And I know you didn't ask about Limassol, you asked about Larnaca, but I'm coming on to that. We're going around the island. So when it came to Limassol, it's kind of every time we visited, we just had this feeling of we're glad to be back in Paphos, and we still get that now. Like literally, you can go down the seafront. The seafront's lovely. It's all modern, clean. All the bars, restaurants, stuff like that. It's great. And you can jump off the pier into the sea, and it's just nice. The marina's lovely. It's all very nice. But then you come a few streets in, and it just feels old, horrible, dirty, smelly. We didn't like it. So Limassol is a place I like to visit, but it's not somewhere I'd like to live. A bit like London, an extent, obviously on a much smaller scale. But London is somewhere that I love to visit as a tourist, but I would never want to live there. That's just me, my opinion. You might love it. So then going around, we went to Larnaca, and Larnaca for me was lovely. It felt very cosmopolitan. The seafront was lovely. All around the seafront was nice. But then even when you come inland, even that felt nice to me. And again, it's subjective. It's just my opinion. But when I say it felt nice, it felt safe. It felt clean. I've never really felt unsafe in Cyprus, to be fair. But I felt more at ease in Larnaca. I felt like it was somewhere I could live. And so we drove around the little villages around Larnaca because I didn't want to live in the city. Larnaca's got the airport, which is handy. Limassol, you're in the middle of 2 airports, Paphos and Larnaca. So Larnaca's great because you've got the airport there. But what I found with that side of the island, and this is the reason why we didn't go to Larnaca, even though we felt like we could have lived there and it was a contender, what you find on the east side of the island, you've got Ayia Napa, you've got Protaras and those places. They're all very nice if you're on holiday. If you live there, it's very, very seasonal. So in the summer, you're just filled and you're packed with tourists. And there's tourists everywhere. I mean, to be fair, there's tourists all over the island in the summer because there's more tourists than there are residents. But particularly Pretoris, a place like Ayia Napa, is buzzing in the summer. And then you get to the winter and it is dead. It is stone cold dead. Like there's nothing happening. And it doesn't feel like there's much to do. Now, yeah, the beaches are great, because the beaches are all empty. Uh, so it just felt like that side of the island wasn't somewhere that we particularly wanted to be. It just we like to visit that side of the island, but I wouldn't want to live there because it seems to be very touristy and less kind of local. Now, I could be totally wrong. That was just the opinion that I formed. And there's probably locals from Larnaca watching us now going, whoa, whoa, hang on a minute. No, you're doing us a disservice. If I am, I apologize. But that was the opinion I came away with. So in Larnaca, yes, we liked it. I could probably still live in Larnaca. But when we were looking at the village and things around it, it just felt like there wasn't going to be as much going on. And because we'd spent more time over Paphos, and this probably made us a bit biased, we like the Akamas region. For what I was saying earlier, I love people and I hate people. The Akamas region, you can go up there, and in the peak of summer, and I'm not talking about by Turtle Bay. I'm talking about like there's private beaches around Akamas where you can just go. And in the absolute peak of summer, when you go to Coral Bay and it is heaving and you can't get a sunbed and tourists are packed in the absolute peak of summer, you can go to Akamas and you can be the only person on the beach. And I love that. And you can go to these places and it's lovely. And there may well be places like that in Pretoris, but for us, we didn't find them in that period. And so the decision we made was, well, Paphos seems to have everything we want. It had the schools because we wanted to send my son to the international school. It had enough going about it. Even it is quiet. Even in like when it's off season, it's quiet because a lot of the restaurants and things close down. But you can go to the city and generally there's still something to do. It felt very safe. It felt very clean, more so than the likes of, say, Limassol. And there was more things in the area that we liked. There's more things in the area that we wanted to do. So it's a very kind of subjective thing. And I appreciate that that might not be the same for you. And, if you like sandy beaches, there's more sandy beaches on the east of the island than there is on the west, because on the west, it seems to be a lot of rocky beaches. And if you go north to Polis, that's all rocky beaches. But again, I even like Polis, even though that you got stony beaches, from where we are, it's about 40 minutes away to get to Polis. Now, from what I understand, Polis is a place where a lot of the Cypriots will go. So, like in the UK, when people go down to, well, where do people go in the UK? Blimey. I've only been gone 2 years. I forgot where people go. I don't know. Somerset. Is that a place people go? What's the place? Cornwall. But there's a place down there somewhere. Newquay. People go to Newquay? I don't know. But when people go like these places, and you've got the what's the one on the south coast? Oh, this is annoying now, isn't it? What's the one on the south coast? Bournemouth, right? People go to these like seaside resorts. I was going to say Skeggy, but nobody goes Skeggy. People go to these resorts, and that's where you go as a local. If you're having a British holiday, you're gonna go away for a week, and you're gonna go out to these places, and you hope it's nice. Well, from what I understand, Polis is a place where the locals will go, and they will kind of come around the island, and they go up to Polis, and they will have a holiday there. And so we're only 40 minutes away from that. And so I just like the west coast of the island. Plus, I love sunsets. This is a really long answer for this question, but I don't mind. I talk a lot. It's fine. Hopefully that answers your question anyway. But that's why we chose Paphos over Larnaca. What are the questions we got? So just going through these. So you want me to bring mince pies now too? Ours is a UK Ford Galaxy. Okay, cool. So in that case, it's on the correct side of the car. So going back to cars for a second. So the car's out here. I didn't mention this in my first driving video, but I do have it as a bullet point for mentioning in my second driving video. And you're now taking away my thunder from that video, but it's fine. I'll answer it. We drive on the same side as the UK, so we all drive on the left. The steering wheels are on the right. So yeah, any UK cars you can bring, and it's fine. It's all on there. If your UK car though is in France, you might. Well, there's a few things about this actually. So you can bring your car in, and you can avoid the tax and import duty if you bring it in as part of residency. This is like a whole new video in itself. So just high level, you'll be fine. You could bring your car in. You would probably be doubly safe on the basis that it's possibly on the continent if you're in France already. So maybe it's already registered in France, and maybe you're okay. Don't know if that answers the question, but I'm going to do another video on this with respect to driving and cars and imports and everything else, because yeah, there is a way to bring cars in, and it is there's lots of rules around the age of cars. In fact, I did mention this in my first driving video. The audio wasn't great. I appreciate, because for some reason when I did that video, my mic, even though it was on, it connected to the car Bluetooth instead, and it used the car's Bluetooth mic, and it was a bit rubbish. But yeah, you can bring a UK car in. You might have different set of challenges if it's in France, but I think actually it'll probably make it easier because it's already registered in the EU, so you're probably fine. But even if you lived in the UK, if you bring it as part of residency, you won't have to pay any tax or VAT. Is the long and short of it. What else we got? So, well, it took me about 25 minutes to buy 2 stamps. So, post office is definitely Sega Sega. Yeah, isn't it, Jess? It is. Post office. So again, when it comes back to formal buildings, government buildings, yeah, I mean, they do seem to be slower. I don't know what it is, but I guess it's the same in the UK, right? Anything government is always slower. I don't know. Right, we've got when we need stuff done, people come. That's a good start. Here in France, they usually say, I can do it in 2 years. Okay. No, well, I mean, in our experience, people come. You might be really unlucky. Maybe they don't like you. I don't know. But in our experience, people come. Unless it's post. Post never seems to come. We can never seem to get post here. Again, I did a video on the post here, but like post is just a freaking nightmare. So it depends. But yeah, I think tradespeople will come. But like the post, and this is something that's a bit of a quirk of living on the island, and you don't realize this until you move here. If you do want anything delivered, if you want something like it could be anywhere, it could be IKEA, like somewhere formal, like a shop, a big shop, anywhere. You want somebody to deliver something to your house. Quite often, you get a text message come through from the delivery driver saying, "Can you send me a pin of where you live, like the location pin on Google Maps?" Because even though they've got the addresses don't seem to work. You can put the address into Google, never seems to show up in the right place. So you end up having to send people pins and stuff like that. So it's always a good sign when somebody asks you for a pin that they're going to turn up. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah, I mean, definitely we've not had to wait 2 years for anything yet. That's all good news. We waited a year for a roof repair. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it'd be quicker than that. And the thing is, there's plenty of people out here that want work. So whether the standards as good as what you get in France, in my experience, generally the longer the queue, the better the service of that place. It's like you never go and, if you've got a choice of takeaways, you go to the one with the queue because the one without the queue is probably rubbish. And there's a reason why they're all queuing for the one that they're queuing for. So, but I don't know if that translates to roof repairs. Not sure. Are there any trades in Cyprus that are in decline or lacking in numbers? Oh, that's a good question. That is a very good question. What have I, well, don't know about trades. I'll find out soon because we're in the middle of building some villas. We're just going through with architecture at the moment of getting some architectural designs signed off. And then we're going to start building and developing villas out here. So I don't know. I'll let you know if we find that we can't get a certain type of supplier, or not supplier, if we can't get a certain type of contractor. I'll keep you posted. I don't know because when I get down to that phase, I'm going to do some videos on that as well. Not the builds. I don't want to. I'm not trying to pitch people, but it'll be more about the process. Because a lot of people come out here, they want to build their own house rather than buy a house, and so maybe they're just interested in what we're doing. And so I want to talk about that experience as well and share some of that. But at the moment, I can't think of any trades that are in short supply, but that's mainly because I've not needed them, not needed to use them in anger anyway. But things that are in short supply, and I mentioned this in one of my previous videos about what I miss about the UK, and that's sort of entertainment for kids. I think out here, everywhere relies on the weather. So there's almost like everybody goes to the beach, the water park, or people go around each other's houses and they go swimming and they go in pools. But there seems to be a lack of things for kids to do that's sort of like in an air conditioned environment. Soft plays. I mean, there are some soft plays, but compared to the UK, the ones I've seen here in Paphos, I mean, they're nothing special. We had 3 or 4 within, no, more than that, probably had about 6 or 7 within a 20-minute drive of where I used to live. And I would say probably 5 of the 7 were better than anything we have here in Paphos. So there's definitely things missing, and I think there's a lot of opportunity out here. And the other thing is that you look at Cyprus. I mean, it's a country, but the thing is, what I'm about to say is also contradictory because it's part of the reason why I like it. Cyprus, to me, feels like the sort of thing that my parents would explain to me. Like, when I was a kid, if I got a bit cheeky, and I used to get a bit cheeky because, I was a kid, right? And I was a cheeky kid. Sometimes my parents would say to me, "Oh, we would never speak to our kids like that." Or when we were young, and they'd tell us all these stories, and you probably heard some of it yourself. Like when we were young, X, fill in the gap, fill in the blank, whatever your parents would say. And I see that out here. I see like people seem to respect people, the family units are tight, and it just feels like it's maybe 20 years, 30 years behind the UK in a lot of ways. In like family values is a good way. I think, the UK has lost a lot of its family values. And I think actually something out here is what I see. I think it's really tight. And it's one of the things I always loved about Poland as well. I thought, Poland was exactly the same. But what that also translates to as well is that some of the things out here are also 20 years behind the scenes. I mean, like a bit behind the time. So you go into a supermarket and there's still people that work there who you have to give your bananas to because they're going to weigh them. They're going to stick a sticker on them, put it in a bag and give it back to you. Like, these guys are going to be blown away when the self-checkouts come. All of these people that weigh your fruit are all going to be out of jobs, and it's kind of horrible. It's coming, but it's also quite nice. You've got that human touch at the moment. And like I was saying on one of the videos with the insurance companies and stuff like that, they haven't all got these call center things set up yet. You're always talking to somebody local. You're probably talking to the owners because they're smaller businesses. You're not pressing 1 for sales, 2 for this, 3 for that. You get to talk to people, and the service is great. So while it is behind the times and there's a lot of opportunity here, and I think things will change because, let's be honest, everywhere's changing. It's also one of the reasons why I like Cyprus, because it's a little bit old school, right? Don't know if that answers the question. I talk a lot. Don't know if that makes any sense though. What else have we got? Are there any? Oh no, we just read that one. Norwegian is like stress. Norwegian is like stress. I don't know if I understand the comment. Don't know if I understand the comment. If you're still live, if you're still on, maybe explain what you mean. Brighton, Eastbourne. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where to go in the UK. Thank you. You're more than welcome. And interested as to how you found the Cyprus business partner. Well, he's English. So if you really want to know how I found him, it's because, and this is the quirk, this is one of the joys of living out in Cyprus. So my son was going to a kickboxing club out here on the island, and the parents were meeting up, and my wife was meeting, and basically the wives decided, let's go to the beach. And so the husbands, we got told, we're going to the beach at the weekend, and also we're going to meet this person's parents. Cool. So I went to the beach, met some people that I'd never met before in my life, and we hit it off. And 2 years later, we're in business. That was it. That was literally how it happened. Because the one thing you'll find when you come to somewhere like Cyprus, and this is one of the things I love about it, is that you do meet like-minded people, right? So when I was saying last week about the whole loneliness thing, you come out somewhere, you think you're going to meet, it can be lonely and all of that. But the people that you do meet are also very like-minded, because let's be honest, people watching this now, if you're still watching now, even though I was 20 minutes late and we're now, 45 minutes in, you're probably interested in Cyprus in some way, which means when you get here, there's a good chance that you and I would get on. Why? Because we clearly like the same things in life. We've ended up in the same country. We clearly value similar things. So the fact that we end up in the same place, it doesn't matter where you're from. You meet people out here of all different nationalities, but people come here for similar reasons. And so when you do meet people, you find that you click with them really fast. You click with them really well, because all of a sudden it's like, well, bloody hell, we're all, like, you've got common values, you're aligned. So when you're out here, you meet people, it's sort of like, great, we all want to do the same thing. We all want to do great things. Whereas when I lived at home in Burbage, like, the people you met were just the people that happened to be born there, and the people that were just working normal jobs, doing about their normal daily things. And you know what? Yeah, some people set up businesses locally and stuff, and that was fine. But we clearly didn't value the same things, because they were happy sitting in the UK and I wasn't, right? So the very fact that we put ourselves out here on the island meant that when you do meet people, the ones that you meet, you'll find that you all of a sudden you meet these, like, you meet core people, you just click, you just vibe, and you just click. And I've had this several times. I've had various meetings out here of people that I've never met before, and then you can just talk and talk and talk for hours. Well, I can talk for hours anyway. I'm I'm barely talking to anybody. I'm literally talking to myself right now with a few people on the chat. But the point is that you can just hit it off. Because in the UK, when I used to talk about business, if I used to talk about business for any length of time, I found that I was kind of on my own, like people around me, they'd be doing a 9 to 5, they'd be working the normal jobs or whatever, they'd be building careers. And I worked out a few years ago that I'm unemployable. Like I don't want to be employed by somebody. And to be honest, it frustrates the hell out of me when I was employed, and I just wouldn't want to go back to that. So, that means that when I'm talking about stuff that I'm interested in, which inevitably is business and everything else, they would kind of get bored and switch off. And then if people are talking about what was on TV and things like that, I get bored and switch off. It's not because I'm being mean or I'm disinterested. We value different things. So then you come out to somewhere like this and you meet people that all kind of value the same things. All of a sudden, you can have conversations and none of it's really taboo because everybody's kind of talking about the same stuff anyway. Everybody's wanting to do something. Everybody wants to do something more than what they were doing back home. So hopefully that answers the question. What we got? So, right. I think like stress might mean no stress in Norwegian. Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe it is. Fine. I've got a that's right and a thumbs up. I don't know what comment that was to, but thank you very much. Appreciate the thumbs up and the smile. And we've got that's really great to hear about like-mindedness. I've missed that here in France. Yeah, I guess there's a language barrier as well. I mean, I don't know. You could be fluent in French, but out here, loads of people, in fact, the majority of people speak English. Even the locals speak English. That was a big consideration of us coming to the island, was that people do speak English. And so, you will see things that are in Greek. Like, as an example, we were in Nicosia earlier today. We're in some of the shops and everything's in Greek, and you end up having to get Google Translate out and translate it. But that's fine because, it's not an English country, it's a Greek country. But it just happens that most people speak English, right? So it's fine. What we got? We've got great live vlog. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Dan. How do you find the international school, and what is the cost of sending your child to a private school? Okay, good question. Right, so the international school. So my son goes to the international school of Paphos, and how do we find it? Honestly, if you're sending your child to private school out here, expecting it to be like private school in the UK, it's not. From what I've seen, it's probably a similar standard to public school in the UK. It just sounds posh because it's private school, but it's not. It's not really that posh. It's not like a 30 grand a year private school in the UK. It's nothing like that. So the quality of the education is, I wouldn't say it was any better or worse than what he was getting back in the UK. However, the reason why we chose private school over public school is because of the curriculum. So the curriculum follows, at least in our case, the UK curriculum for the most part. And yeah, he still learns Greek and everything, but the English stories and things like that were the same. So if you've got young kids and you've been going through English and you've got Chip and Kipper and Pipper and whatever the bloody names are, they all seem to be the same. Those stories were the same out here, and then so just reading the same books. And so if Cyprus didn't work out for us, we could have gone back to the UK. Even though I personally didn't want to, we could have, right? So hopefully that answers the question on the quality of the education and how do we find the school. I mean, the school itself, actually, no, I'll answer a little bit more on the school. So the school itself, we personally really like. We've got friends whose children go to TLC. If you're interested in the Paphos area, you've got four main private schools. You've got TLC, you've got the International School of Paphos, you've got Aspire, the British school, and you've got a new one, Lumio, I think it is. Now, I know people that go to TLC and they like the sound of international school more than their experiences. What we hear on the island is that the private schools pay less than the public schools. So, for example, we were in a restaurant once, and we were in this restaurant, and we were with some friends whose children went to TLC, and it just so happened that one of the waitresses was also a teacher. I don't know how that worked out, but anyway, one of the waitresses or one of the people working in the restaurant, she used to be a teacher at TLC, I think it was, right? So used to be a teacher at TLC. When she got qualified, and this should be shocking enough, when she got qualified, she then went to a public school because they paid more. So like, oh, so they don't necessarily use qualified teachers. Don't know. But that seemed to be the case. Now, again, that's what we were told. That's not my personal experience of that school. So again, it's kind of like it's just stories that you hear through friends on the island, and that was the teacher. And but she said it to us in the restaurant, and that's what she'd said. And so you take it as you hear it. But international school, they have started up in their game a bit more because Lumio, which was the new one that came across maybe a year or two ago, started all of a sudden having loads of students go across. And I think they're even losing teaching staff to Lumio as well. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but that was kind of like the rumors that we were hearing because all of a sudden the school started up in its game in various ways. But honestly, like 2 years in, we like the school. The school does loads of cool stuff in the evening, not in the evenings, that's a lie. In seasonal things, so like Christmas fairs, they do like different summer fairs. They do loads of cool things for the kids. So we actually quite like it. We meet a lot of people through the school. And all of the teachers that we've kind of dealt with have all been great. I've not had an issue with it. I personally like it. The one thing that I don't like about international school is that one of the reasons we chose it at the time, not really knowing about TLC, Aspire, and the other one, no, TLC and Aspire, because they were the only ones at the time. So the reason why we chose international school was purely because it had a pool and the other two didn't. Now, we'd read the reviews. All the reviews of the others were kind of like much and muchness. They were kind of like similar. But international school had a swimming pool and the other ones didn't. And my son loved swimming. And we thought, you know what? We'll go to the one with the pool. And the reason why I say that's a disappointment is because if he has more than a handful of swimming lessons every year, then that's all he has. And then they do a swimming gala where he'll like swim like 3 or 4 lengths, and that's it. I'm like, wow, what an absolute waste. Now, maybe that changes when he gets older. I don't know. But our experience of it is that they don't really use the pool, but it does have lots of other sporting facilities, which other schools don't. So I'm hoping that as he gets a bit older, he will start to see more of the sporting activities, because at the end of the day, he's an 8-year-old boy and he's got a lot of energy and he loves to run around, right? So we're hoping that they start making use of those facilities more. To answer the question on cost, so cost-wise, it changes every year. When we first started, I'm having to think about this now. When we first started, and I need to do a video on schooling because I'd have prepared for it. I didn't know I was going to get asked this tonight, so I'd have prepared for it. It was about 5,700 euros or something like that for his first and second year. Now he's gone into the third year. I think it's like 6.5 grand, 1,000 euros. So that goes up each year now, depending on the levels that he's in. But the one thing that they do, which I really don't like, is that you end up having to pay for all of the textbooks. Like, you pay for the books, and then some of them you don't even get to keep. Like, you're almost like renting them. So you pay your school fees, then you're paying for textbooks on top. And then you got to pay for the uniforms and everything else. Now, school uniforms normal, right? You pay for a school uniform in the UK anyway. But I don't recall having to pay for all of the books and stuff. Like, in my head, if you're paying for the education, the books should just come. But anyway, no, you have to pay for them. So it's like, that's an additional like 300, 400 euros or something like that a year. Like I say, I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but maybe I'll do a video on schools at some point and I'll pull out all the figures. I don't mind. I'll just show you all of the figures that we get quoted. Hopefully that answers the question anyway. But if you've got any more questions on schools, by all means ask, and I'll answer what I can. What have we got? So we've got what are you saying? We're hitting people off. Sounds great. So I've been responsible for many years. People keep getting bored and switch over the years. They're fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Totally get that. No, I totally relate to that as well. That's the international school. Just answered that one. What do you think about dentists on the island? Oh, wow. Wow. I actually really like the dentists. Not so much the maxillofacial guys. They really hurt. If you've seen my health video, not happy about that. I'm still numb. My lip's still numb, and all of this still tingles. But anyway, that aside, the dentists, very impressed with, for several reasons. We've got a private dentist that we use, and that sounds posher than it is. All the dentists are private out here. You don't really get anything on Gessi unless through Gessi, which is the National Health, you will get a free clean every year, I think it is. And so you get a free clean, which ordinarily would cost you like 40 euros otherwise. But otherwise, all dentistry is private. And I'm not sure about age. I think even for age, thinking about it, because so far my son has paid for dentistry. Maybe we need to register for something. I haven't figured that bit out yet. Maybe he will get it because of his age. But at the minute, we've paid for all of our dentistry. What I do know is that it is a fraction of the cost of the UK. And from what I understand, and I'm not a dentist, but from what I understand, there's a lot more red tape in the UK than there is here. So there is a requirement to have a certain number of people on site when you're doing certain things. There's a requirement to have a receptionist, an actual dentist, and a few other things. I don't know. I don't know all the regulations, but there is a requirement to have more people. Now, when you have more people, inherently that brings more cost, and that's more cost that they have to cover. So if you go to a private dentist, they've got more costs and overheads to cover, they have to charge more. Out here, I can pick up the phone. I could probably text him now and he'd reply, but I could pick up the phone. I could ring my dentist. The dentist will answer the phone. He will take the appointment. He'll book me in. I will turn up at the dentist at the time. And the thing is as well, unlike my experience in the UK, if I ring him, say I rang him tomorrow's Monday. If I rang him tomorrow, I would probably have an appointment later this week. And worst case, it'd be early next week. But I'd have an appointment soon, not like weeks away. And you can just kind of get in. And the cool thing is that they work quite obscure hours as well. So they kind of fit you in around various times and they can start early and stuff like that. So they're really flexible, at least in our experience. And so anyway, so I could ring him and he would be well answering the phone. He'd book my appointment. I'd turn up at the dentist and then he would be the one booking me in. And then I would literally get shown into the room and he would take me in and he would be the person then doing the work on my teeth. So it's a one-man band versus an army of people that then you have to pay for. So the prices end up cheaper. And from what I've seen, on the dentistry side, the service is amazing. And from what I've experienced, it's amazing. So I've had a filling done out here and it was fine. Who had it? It was either my son and my wife. I can't remember. Somebody had a filling. I can't remember who it was. I should know this. I'm a bad dad. I think I don't know. I'm making it up now. One of them had a filling. And again, there was no complaints. I remember that much. There was no complaints. I've had x-rays done here and it's literally, he'll do the x-ray. Like the dentist will do the x-ray in front of you and then he'll show you the results in front of you. You don't need to make another appointment and come back in like 3 years' time. It just happens on the day. And they never seem rushed. You never feel like you're being pushed out the door because the next one's coming in. You never feel like that. So in my experience, dentists out here are really good. I really like them. And like I say, cost-wise, I mean, I compared the cost of the fillings that we had done, the cleans and stuff like that. And I can't remember the exact work now, so it's going to be a really rubbish example. But I remember talking to my friend who owns a dentist practice in the UK at the time, and I remember explaining the work that we had done that we paid 160 euros for, and he said that in his place would have been about 800 euros. So yeah, it's cheaper for sure, and the service is great. Hopefully that answers the question. What else have we got? So thanks for detailed answer and experience. No problem. I'm happy to help. That is the last comment. So if there's nothing else from anybody else, I'm going to end it there. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you watching. And I appreciate actually talking to me live because that's why I wanted to do these live. I started off doing them because, my whole premise of this was that there's AI that's just now taking over and it can fake just about everything. And I thought I want it to be real. I want it to be raw because I want you guys to see me for me. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. So what? Who cares? Life's too short, right? If I can't stumble over my words, then it doesn't matter. But the point is, I do this live. You get to see me. You get to see me talk about real Cyprus, and you get to interact with me live and actually ask questions. So keep tuning in each week. I'm going to go live every Sunday. Even next week, like over the Christmas period, I'm going to keep going live. So yeah, keep tuning in, keep asking questions, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been good. But I am going to leave it there. Although, hang on, I have more comments coming through. Thank you very much. No, you're welcome. Appreciate you guys joining in. Thanks very much. Have a good evening all, and I will catch you all next week for those of you who join in. So yeah, thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Cheers. I have to wait for this to go off now because it's a bit laggy if I cut it too soon.